Everyone told them to fix their sleep schedule. Go to bed earlier, wake up earlier, be productive, be disciplined, stop wasting the morning. Early bird gets the worm. And so the world built itself around 6 a.m. alarm clocks, 8 a.m. meetings, and morning people who post sunrise photos and call it a personality. Meanwhile, the night owls were awake at 2 a.m., writing the code that runs your phone, composing music that makes you cry, and solving the problems that stumped everyone who went to bed at 10. Marcel Proust, night owl. Charles Darwin, night owl. Winston Churchill, night owl. Barack Obama, night owl. Not despite the late hours, because of them. Scientists have spent years trying to pathologize people who come alive after dark, calling it a disorder, a bad habit, a discipline problem. But the data keeps saying something completely different. Night owls don't have a sleep problem. They have a different biological clock, one that unlocks cognitive advantages that morning people will never access. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the world's most creative and intelligent minds do their best work when everyone else is unconscious. Chapter 1. The chronotype is not a choice. Here's what the self-help industry won't tell you because it destroys half their content. Your sleep schedule is not a discipline issue. It is written into your DNA. Researchers at the Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich studied over 65,000 people across multiple countries and confirmed what night owls have known their entire lives. Chronotype, the biological timing of when your brain peaks, is largely genetic. You didn't choose to be a night owl. Your genome did. And fighting it doesn't make you more productive. It makes you cognitively impaired. They even gave it a name. Social jet lag, the chronic mismatch between your biological clock and the schedule society forces on you. People with severe social jet lag, forced early risers whose biology wants to run late, show the same cognitive deficits as people with diagnosable sleep disorders. Brain fog, slower reaction time, reduced memory consolidation, impaired decision-making. Every morning person who tells a night owl to just wake up earlier is essentially telling a left-handed person to just use their right hand. You can force it. It will cost you. Neuroscientist Till Roenberg, who has spent his career mapping chronotypes across populations, was direct about the conclusion. We cannot talk ourselves out of our chronotype. The social pressure to be a morning person is not just useless, it is actively harmful to a significant portion of the population. And here's the number that should make every 5 a.m. productivity guru uncomfortable. Research suggests that genuine evening chronotypes make up roughly 30% of the population. That's not a small minority of broken people who need fixing. That's almost 1 in 3 humans being told their natural peak performance window is wrong, and when those people are finally allowed to operate on their own schedule, something interesting happens. But here's the problem though. Knowing your chronotype is real doesn't explain the advantage. That comes from understanding what actually happens inside the night owl brain after dark. Chapter 2. The creativity window. Here's the counterintuitive finding that changed everything. A study published in the journal Thinking and Reasoning found that people perform best on creative problem-solving tasks during their non-optimal time of day. Read that again. Non-optimal. For night owls, that means mornings. For morning people, that means evenings. But here's what makes night owls specifically dangerous. Their non-optimal window, when inhibitions are slightly lower and associative thinking runs looser, happens to coincide with when the world is quiet. No emails, no meetings, no social obligations, no noise. The environment matches the neurology. Morning people get their creative window in the evening, but the evening is filled with dinner, family, social demands, and the winding down of the world. Night owls get their creative window in the morning, but they're also awake late at night in silence with a brain running at full analytical power. They get both windows, and they get the silence for both. That's not a coincidence. That's an unfair structural advantage. Psychologist Satoshi Kanazawa at the London School of Economics analyzed data from a large longitudinal study tracking cognitive ability and sleep patterns. His finding was stark. Higher general intelligence was significantly associated with evening chronotype preferences. The smarter the person, the more likely they were to prefer staying up late. This isn't because smart people choose to stay up. It's because the same cognitive architecture that produces higher analytical ability also produces a preference for nocturnal activity. The brain that runs complex simulations at night is the same brain that scores higher on intelligence measures during the day. You don't get one without the other. Marcel Proust wrote Remembrance of Things Past almost entirely between midnight and dawn. 7 volumes. Over 3,000 pages. One of the most complex literary works in human history. Built in silence while Paris slept. But here's the problem though. Raw cognitive power in a quiet environment still isn't the complete picture. Because the night owl advantage isn't just about when the brain works, it's about how it works differently. Chapter 3. The Divergent Engine. Night owls don't just think later, they think differently. Researchers at the University of Madrid tested 1,000 teenagers across a range of cognitive measures and cross-referenced the results with Chronotype. Evening types significantly outperformed morning types on inductive reasoning, which is the ability to identify patterns and generate new ideas from limited information. They showed stronger performance on creative synthesis tasks, and they demonstrated faster processing speeds on complex analytical problems. Same age, same education, same socioeconomic backgrounds, different internal clock, wildly different cognitive profile. The researchers weren't expecting that finding. They published it anyway because the data was too clear to ignore. Here's the neuroscience underneath it. During late night hours, the prefrontal cortex, the brain's chief editor and inhibition center, gradually reduces its oversight. This is why your best ideas sometimes hit you at midnight. Your inner critic is going off shift. The associative networks that generate creative connections run with less interference. Concepts link in ways the daytime analytical brain would filter out as too unusual, too risky, too weird. Night owl brains get extended access to this disinhibited creative state. Charles Darwin did his deepest theoretical thinking on his evening walks around his garden. He called it his thinking path. He walked it every night after dark, alone, in silence, while the household slept. The theory of evolution wasn't built in a laboratory during business hours. It was built on a gravel path in the dark. Churchill ran the British war effort largely from a nocturnal schedule, routinely working past 3 a.m., summoning ministers at midnight, dictating memos in the small hours. His staff hated it. Nazi Germany didn't survive it. Hit subscribe before you forget this, because the next part is where it gets personal. Chapter 4. The Persecution Tax. Here's the hidden cost nobody talks about. Night owls living on a morning schedule are paying a daily cognitive tax that morning people never see. Every day a night owl sets a 6 a.m. alarm, staggers into a 9 a.m. meeting, and tries to perform at a time when their brain is biologically still asleep. They are operating at a deficit. Accumulated over years, over a career, over a lifetime. This deficit is enormous. A University of Birmingham study measured cognitive performance in morning and evening types at different times of day. Evening types tested during their non-preferred morning hours showed dramatically reduced sustained attention, working memory capacity, and processing speed compared to morning types tested at the same time. The same evening types tested during their preferred late hours matched or exceeded the morning types at peak. They're not less capable, they're being tested at the wrong time. Permanently. By a society that decided 9 a.m. is the correct hour for human performance with no biological justification whatsoever. The Industrial Revolution standardized the working day around factory shift logistics, not human neuroscience, not cognitive optimization, factory logistics from the 1800s, and the world has been organized around that arbitrary decision ever since. Every night owl who has ever been called lazy, undisciplined, or unfocused was being evaluated against a standard built for a different brain at a time chosen by 19th century factory owners. That's not science. That's scheduling inertia with a PR problem. Your version of this fix is straightforward and non-negotiable. Protect your peak hours with the same aggression a morning person protects their morning. Schedule your hardest cognitive work, your most creative projects, your deepest thinking, for the hours when your brain is actually running at full power. Stop apologizing for doing your best work at midnight. Stop scheduling important decisions for 8 a.m. Stop measuring your productivity against people operating on a completely different biological timetable. You are not broken. You are mistimed. Those are not the same thing. Here is what all 4 chapters actually mean. Night owl aren't fighting bad habits, they're fighting biology being used against them. Their creative peak runs in conditions: quiet, dark, low social pressure, that the world accidentally gives them for free. Their cognitive architecture produces stronger divergent thinking and higher analytical performance when finally measured at the right time. And the only thing standing between most night owls and their best work is a world that keeps scheduling everything at 9 a.m. Stop fighting your clock. Build your life around it instead. The people who called you lazy were just awake at the wrong time to see what you were building. But here's the problem though. Peak hours only produce results if what you're doing during those hours actually sticks. Most people do their best thinking at the right time and then forget everything by morning. That's why I made this video breaking down the exact system for making every insight, every idea, and every piece of learning permanent. Watch it next.